You're watching WSIU TV, Channel 8, Carbondale.
Good evening. It's Halloween night, and there may be ghosts and goblins lurking in the area, but how about on South Illinois Avenue in Carbondale? Today not only marks the Halloween holiday, but also SIU students' first day back to classes after a 5-day fall break. Around 9:30 tonight, people began gathering in mass up and down the sidewalks of the Strip. At this time, people are dressed for the occasion and are taking over. Flyers were circulating in the Carbondale area encouraging people to bring the party back to life. Right now, SIU and Carbondale police dispatchers say that all Carbondale law enforcement officials are on the Strip to monitor the situation. Over 200 people were arrested last year during the takeover. Neil Hartigan, the Democratic candidate for governor, made a campaign swing across Carbondale today via satellite. SIU Night reports Marilyn Emmerich talked to Hartigan about the many problems Southern Illinois has, including the fact that government funds do not end up in Southern Illinois.
Of opportunities in terms of which I've never said. We're spending over $850 million, and yet when you take a look at the problems in Southern Illinois and Western Illinois, places that really need support from the state's Economic Development Agency, it isn't happening.
Representative Pritchard recently voted against the Clean Air Act legislation, which is what you were talking about. He voted against it because it would damage the jobs in Southern Illinois. What would you think about that, the Clean Air legislation?
I think the state of Illinois really hasn't done a thing. As you perhaps are aware, Paul Simon and I were the people that set up the Coal Research Lab at SIU back in the 70s. If I'd been governor of this state, I would have gone after the problem of gasification, liquefaction, scrubbers, you know, so that it isn't the environment or jobs. It should be the environment and jobs.
With the elections less than 1 week away, politicians are plugging away with last-minute campaigning. But there are others who have been equally busy. Brenda Edgar, a native Southern Illinoisan, has been working for the last 15.5 months, just as her husband, Republican candidate for governor Jim Edgar. She says the governor's race could be won or lost by 2 votes per precinct. Therefore, a high voter turnout is important.
Criminal.
That it's imperative that people vote on Election Day, November the 6th. We live in a country where we have this wonderful freedom and privilege of voting, but it's a tremendous responsibility.
Edgar stressed that every person's vote does make a difference. There's still some heavy campaigning going on in Southern Illinois. Democratic incumbent for the 22nd congressional race, Glenn Pritchard, is being challenged by lifelong Republican Jim Wham. But Wham isn't running on the Republican ticket. His idea to run came too late to seek the GOP nomination, so now he's the only candidate on the Jim Wham ticket. Pritchard, a former state senator seeking a second term in Washington, is opposed to a constitutional amendment to outlaw flag burning, while the reason Wham entered the race is to protect the U.S. flag from desecration.
I cannot agree that the First Amendment invalidates the act of Congress, which makes criminal the public burning of the flag. No, my friends, these simple English words, freedom of speech, can never be juggled around and warped to mean burn the flag of the nation.
It says he detests flag burners, yet people should have the choice to respect or disrespect the flag. Well, still to come tonight, police continue searching for the abductor of a Carbondale Community High school student. And in sports, Brad Palmer will show us highlights from high school football playoff games. Stay with us.
Sunday night on Masterpiece Theater, the emotional conclusion to The Ginger Trade. Mary Mackenzie must flee a country at the brink of war.
Why should I want to go to America?
Because I cannot guarantee your safety.
While Count Kentaro remains behind.
As long as I am required by my country, I must serve.
Even if that country begins to go insane.
And a stranger emerges from the past. And Monday, take a look at the satellite sky on The American Experience. The launching of Sputnik turned science fiction into science fact and moved the Cold War into outer space.
It is quite possible that an aggressor nation that dominates space will then dominate the world.
See how this threat to national security created a mad rush to the moon.
Well, sure, I'd like to make sure we get there, but I'd also like to make sure we get back.
Sunday, Masterpiece Theater, and Monday, The American Experience.
It will soon be business as usual for a Shell oil pipeline severed on Tuesday in Marion. Shell oil crews from 4 states along with state and local agencies have all but finished cleaning up the 150,000-gallon spill.
Should be complete this evening about midnight, and the soil disposal process probably complete sometime this weekend.
25 barrels of the spill have been recovered. Any remaining oil-contaminated soil will be disposed of at the Perry County landfill. A contractor for Central Illinois Power Service Company hit the line and ruptured it yesterday. The 40-inch crude oil line runs from Louisiana to Patoka in south-central Illinois and is the largest crude oil line in the area. Carbondale police are still looking for a middle-aged man who tried to abduct a Carbondale Community High School student after school on Monday. The incident took place on the corner of Springer and West High Streets. The suspect shown here in this police drawing is apparently 6 feet in height, weighing about 200 pounds, with short brown hair and hazel eyes. The man approached the victim outside of the high school and attempted to force her into his car with a knife. The car is described as a white 4-door Chevrolet Corsica with a maroon interior. If you have any idea of the identity of the man, please contact Carbondale Police as soon as possible. Brad, it is now do or die time, I guess, for high school teams in state football playoffs.
Jeff, it's down to sudden death for any of the high school football teams right now because the playoffs got started tonight. The Battle of Jackson County was renewed as Carbondale visited Murfreesboro in a Class 4A game. And the fans were out in full force in Murfreesboro, but the Red Devils were behind at halftime. But they tried to get back into it in the second half as Kenny Williams picks off this pass and sets up Murfreesboro on what they hope would be a drive to get them back into the football game. They trailed 17-0. But at the 4-yard line, Jason Ward's pass is tipped and intercepted by defensive back Curtis Dash of Carbondale, and the Red Devils are turned away. Then Carbondale after that would take control. First, coming up on a 30-yard run up the middle by running back Kevin Rydell would set the Terriers up in good shape. And then quarterback Braden Gibbs would follow that up with his 51-yard touchdown pass to wide receiver Tariq Khalik. And just like that, it was 23-0 Carbondale, and Murphy head coach Jim Woodward was not liking what he was seeing on the field tonight at Doc Bensini Field. As you see there, the Terriers were in complete control, and Woodward, well, it'd only get worse for you, Jim, as Braden Gibbs would connect along again, this time a 42-yard touchdown pass to sophomore sensation Seth Smith. And the Terriers advance to the next round as they beat Murfreesboro tonight 30-0. In Herrin, the Tigers hosted Mount Carmel in yet another Class 4A contest around the area. And early on in the game, the homestanding Tigers looked good as Herrin tried to advance on into the second round. The winner of this game will play the Carbondale-Murfreesboro winner. And early on, the Tigers looking good. Quarterback Brian Schulian hits Joe Morris with a touchdown pass. Nice catch by Morris. The extra point no good. And early on, Herrin led 6-0. Then after a Mount Carmel turnover, Schulian goes up top again, and again, it's to Joe Morris. This time the extra point is good, and the Herrin Tigers lead 13-0, and the good crowd on hand tonight in Herrin enjoying themselves as their home team looked good early on in the first half. Then later on in the same half, the Tigers break the game wide open as running back Jeremy Starkweather goes right up the middle, breaks a couple of tackles, and he's off to the races, 61 yards, and Herrin led 20-0 at halftime. The Tigers went on to an easy 33-0 shutout over Mount Carmel. In other playoff action around the area in Class 3A play this evening, DuQuoin edged Freeburg by a touchdown, and the number 1 team in Class 3A, Belleville-Altoff, routed Sparta 49-6. For the third straight year, Harrisburg and Massac County met in the first round, and the Bulldogs win easy, and Christopher was 10 points better than Fairfield, and in the Class 2A game, Cesar-Valier lost to Columbia by 8. The Baseball Writers Association of America named Jim Leland of the Pittsburgh Pirates its National League Manager of the Year today. Leland led the Pirates to the National League Eastern Division crown this year with baseball's second-best record. Leland's Pirates then lost to Cincinnati in the NL Championship Series in 6 games. In NFL news, Rusty Hilger, seen here in his days with the Detroit Lions, has signed with Indianapolis as a backup quarterback. Hilger will replace Jack Trudeau, who suffered a season-ending knee injury last weekend. Besides Detroit, Hilger has also played in the NFL with the Los Angeles Raiders. The featured matchup tonight in the National Hockey League was in Madison Square Garden as the two best teams in the league so far faced off, and the New York Rangers had it their way, beating the LA Kings by 5 goals. And a couple of other NHL games to mention. Boston and Buffalo finished out in a tie, and Montreal beat Hartford by a couple of goals. And Jeff and Jared, let's look at sports. A lot of high school football tonight.
Thank you, Red. Well, coming up next, we'll check and see if this warm weather we've been having is going to continue.
And we'll tell you about a fun, safe way some trick-or-treaters spent this spooky evening. Stay with us.
And Jared, seasonable weather tomorrow as well? Well, looks like it's going to be continue to be warm for the next couple of days, Jeff. It's been nice out there. Currently, it's 56 degrees in Carbondale. The skies are clear, and the humidity is at 59%. The winds are out of the southwest at 5 miles per hour. The barometric pressure is 30.20 and steady, and we've had no precipitation. Taking a look at area temperatures, it's 63 up in St. Louis. Cape Girardeau is registering in at 54 degrees. Paducah is 52, it's 53 over in Marion, and 56 in Carbondale. The forecast for tonight calls for clear conditions with a low around 50 degrees. Tomorrow will be sunny and warm. The high will be in the upper 70s. Tomorrow night will be partly cloudy, lows in the lower 50s, and Friday will be mostly cloudy. The high will be in the upper 70s.
Tonight, Carbondale youngsters took to the streets for Halloween tricks and treats. But city officials and parents wanted youngsters to be in a safe environment. Reporter Kelly Fairley shows us how SIU students provided a safe alternative.
Safety was the watchword in Carbondale as youngsters took to the streets to collect their traditional Halloween goodies. Many went door to door with their parents or older brothers and sisters. Others stayed in tight groups and took recommended precautions.
I'm the protector. We've got bright bags and bright clothes. And we stay on the side.
But Carbondale streets were not the only places where you can find ghosts and goblins. Several fraternities and sororities supervise activities for youngsters at the SIU Student Center.
Trick-or-treating in Carbondale is from 5 to 8, and this is from 7 to 9, so the kids can come here and trick-or-treat after they're done trick-or-treating out in the community.
Well, we live over at Evergreen Terrace, so they did do some trick-or-treating there, but it was just a lot of fun. We don't have to worry about checking all their candy. We know it's safe.
The SIU Intergrade Council has sponsored the Halloween Safety Party for the past 4 years. It's not the bewitching hour yet, but it's a safe bet that most of these active youngsters are already in bed thinking about next year's Halloween. On SIU campus, I'm Kelly Fairley for the SIU Night Report.
I hate to say anything, but that last guy there looked like my next-door neighbor.
I don't want to live where you live.
Careful, Jeff.
Well, guys, coming up this Saturday, I didn't get to mention, but Carbondale and Heron play each other in Heron.
All right, should be a good one. Thanks, Brett. Well, for Brad Palmer and Jeff Williams, I'm Jared Hurd. Stay tuned now for the McNeil Air News Hour coming up next. Good night.
Good evening. Leading the news this Wednesday, President Bush